Here's the story.
I'm being told it's Verdell Burdine. I mispronounced it, I think, in the intro of the show. Don't judge me yet. I'm Dan Haggerty. Welcome to the story. We're going to get some stuff right tonight, I promise. I want to remind everybody who's sending in questions and ideas, look, sometimes we don't get to them right away. When you send something in, we got this like little secret folder that we save it in, and we get to it. Sometimes it's the next day, sometimes it's the next week, but remember, we read all of it. We seem to be getting more and more every single night, so thank you. But if you're thinking, why haven't they talked about my amazing idea yet? Please be patient. We get so many of them, and we have some really smart, curious people watching this show. But keep reaching out on Facebook or find me on Instagram. It's Dan.Haggerty on Instagram. You can send me an email also at thestory@kgw.com. And as always, use Twitter and that hashtag HeyDan. Lots to talk about tonight, so let's get started. And why not dive right into our big story? Once again, we are focusing on calls to fix the police systems, which yesterday Governor Brown called, in her words, saying that they were built on racism. And this week, we got another example that shows us why more people are calling for change than ever before. Take a look at this video. It was just released, but it does show a moment that happened 2 years ago in the Washington County Jail. A deputy, Ryan Alden, attacks a man posing for a mugshot. There he goes. That guy, Albert Molina, was arrested for riding a bike while drunk. Now, we can't hear what's going on here. There's no audio to the video, but I don't know if that really matters. There are no words that give a deputy the right to do what you're seeing there. Molina's attorney said that the hit fractured his skull, left his brain bleeding. He spent 19 days in the hospital, 5 days in the ICU. Deputy Alden, they asked him about this, why he attacked him. He said it was because he thought Molina was trying to challenge him to a fight. When this happened in 2018, Deputy Alden was investigated, of course, but the Washington County District Attorney at the time said then that there wasn't enough evidence to charge him, even with the video that you just saw. But things have changed in 2 years. Washington County has a new district attorney now, and he reopened the investigation into Deputy Alden. And seeing as though that you're looking at his mugshot right now, you can probably figure out what happened next. He was arrested. Deputy Alden faces misconduct charges, but prosecutors are trying to tag assault on top of it. So why did it take 2 years and two different DAs for this to happen? Some Oregon lawmakers say it's because the entire system is broken. And now members of the People of Color Caucus in Salem want to fix that. They have 3 proposals dealing with police discipline, use of force, and how these cases are investigated and prosecuted. Now, we just learned that Governor Kate Brown has, in fact, agreed to call a special session on police accountability to talk about these bills. We don't know exactly when that's going to happen yet, but we expect to hear in the next couple of days, so stay tuned, of course. Now, earlier today, I talked to Representative Janelle Bynum. She sits on the People of Color Caucus. She's also the chair of Oregon's House Judiciary Committee. I asked her about that video from Washington County, from the jail there, and what the two investigations, 2 years apart with 2 different outcomes, says about the problems we're facing.
One thing that I've shared with directors of Department of Corrections, our public safety and training department, is if you all are not coming back to us telling us that perhaps you have an area in your department that something doesn't seem right, or you have a rule that doesn't quite feel right, or you had a case that just kind of shook your conscience, if you're not coming back and telling the legislature you have to do something about this, then it tells me you're okay with it. That's the conclusion I can draw from this. It was a disturbing event, but it wasn't disturbing enough to shake that person's conscience. It wasn't disturbing enough for that DA to raise it to a legislative level to say, I need something to help prosecute against this. Maybe this guy will get away this time. But to me, anyone who launches at someone who's helpless because you know that they're inebriated is someone that probably has done that before and will probably do it again, both at home and at work. These people don't surprise us. People who commit those types of things. These are not surprises. So if you're not speaking up, asking for the legislation that you need, my view is that you're probably complicit.
When she's referring to whether people have done that before, or if they do it at home, of course, we have no evidence that the deputy in that video has done any of that. She's just generalizing there. But right now, look, the way the system is set up, local district attorneys handle cases where police use force, the district attorneys. And in each county, they have their own DA, right? So that's potentially 36 different approaches to justice. Representative Biden thinks that the state attorney general should be handling all of them.
Well, I think it is a proposal that is meant to engender discussion. It's a proposal so that we look at our outcomes. And this is what I shared with the DA's Association's lobbyists actually today. If your outcomes are fair and people have confidence in them, then we're probably in a good place. I would venture to say many people of color in this state do not feel that the outcomes they're seeing, whether it's from the number of people who are in jail for crimes that maybe were trumped up charges, or the number of police that have gone to jail for things that we couldn't do out on the street on a regular day. When you look at the outcomes, we're saying things have to change. And if the DAs have been in charge of those outcomes, maybe it's time to have a conversation about shifting that to another office that can get better outcomes for the good of the entire state.
So her caucus also wants to pass a bill to make sure police punishment for misconduct isn't reduced if they appeal it, for instance, and they're still found guilty of wrongdoing. So she says even when an officer, for instance, loses their job for use of force, they will sometimes get a payout just so that they don't have to go through the legal process.
What was appalling to me was sometimes it's cheaper to do a settlement than it is to try and relieve someone of their duties. And that to me feels wrong. The public is paying for that. The public doesn't have any trust in that person. And oh, by the way, the other cops on the force don't like a bad cop either. So it makes no sense to me why we keep spinning our wheels on this. It makes no sense.
Now, I mentioned at the top, one of the proposals is to change the state's use of force laws. I asked Representative Biden what those changes could look like.
Well, we've talked about chokeholds and different types of holds that would be used in the subduing of a suspect, subduing of someone who's in custody. What I really think is important, and what's important to me, is that we have a conversation, that we look at the usefulness of different tactics, that we look at the humanity or the humaneness of different tactics and have a conversation. We've found that in years past, not necessarily in particular with holds, that there wasn't necessarily enough political energy, or there wasn't the call to action. Everyone didn't feel the urgency. Now we have it. We know there's so much work to be done. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
And this is the discussion headed to the Capitol. She says right now that she has support from Republicans as well as 2 lawmakers who were former police chiefs. Now, don't forget, Democrats did have some trouble getting bills passed in the last couple of sessions because of Republican walkouts over cap and trade. That shouldn't be an issue with this special session. It's more specific to these issues. But we're going to keep you posted, of course, on what happens next and what these bills end up looking like as lawmakers get to work on them. All right, let's take a look right now at tonight's quote of the day, because I think it's one that we should all try to embody. My word is my handshake. And those 5 words were the mantra of Harry Glickman, the man behind the Portland Trail Blazers, the man who brought basketball and hockey to Portland. Harry Glickman died yesterday at the age of 96, and I think his contributions to this city deserve a little of our time tonight.
We're toying with the idea of running a contest.
Harry Glickman lived by the mantra, my word is my handshake. And without Harry Glickman, we don't have Rip City.
Rip City, baby.
There's no Blazer Mania. There's no NBA championship in 1977.
The Portland Trail Blazers have won the World Championship.
Yeah, it was an incredibly fantastic experience.
He's the father of professional sports in Oregon and put Portland on the map in 1970 when the Blazers came to town. Glickman is also an Oregonian through and through.
You're born and raised here in Portland.
Here, Shattuck Grade School, Lincoln High School, University of Oregon.
He served in the Army for 3 years, earning the Bronze Star. Glickman first got involved in sports in the 1950s. He founded Oregon Sports Attractions and brought NFL exhibition games and the Harlem Globetrotters to Oregon. Before there was basketball, Glickman got into hockey.
If we receive the approval of the Western Hockey League, which we fully expect to do, we will transfer that franchise to Portland for the 1960-61 season.
For 13 years, he was the president of the Portland Buckaroos. They were a huge success, winning 3 WHL titles. His big break came in 1970, when the NBA awarded Portland an expansion team.
Oh, wow. Hey, we're in the big leagues. Yeah, that was, I thought it was the biggest day in the history of sports in Oregon. That was quite a thrill.
Glickman and 3 other investors paid $3.7 million to make it happen. It wasn't a big hit right away. In fact, only about 4,000 fans showed up to the first game.
I remember very well. Our top price ticket was $5. We didn't have a capacity crowd.
But it soon changed. And as legendary broadcaster Bill Schonely told us, another moment stands out from that first season.
Harry would often say to me, when we go to New York, I can't wait to see up on the marquee at Madison Square Garden, Portland versus the Knicks. He said that would really top it for me.
For 18 years, he led the franchise to incredible heights. In 1998, he sold the team to Paul Allen, but Glickman didn't go away. He served as general manager and retired in 1994 to become president emeritus. He still attended many games at the Moda Center. In fact, he was there when Damian Lillard hit that incredible three-pointer to knock out the Thunder in last year's playoffs. The 96-year-old leaves behind his wife, Joanne, son, Marshall, daughters, Jennifer and Lynn, grandsons, Joel and Laz, and granddaughter, Sydney.
Welcome back to The Story. If you haven't yet, we'd love to hear from you tonight. A lot of different ways you can reach out to us online. You can email us at thestory@kgw.com. You could tweet us using that hashtag HeyDan, or you can send me a private message on Facebook or Instagram. I read everything, like on air to everyone, so be careful what you write me. The Story team is keeping a close eye on all those channels, though, for you, and I'm going to address some of them in real time a little later in the show. Now, I wonder how many of you remember this man. His name is Hector Sanchez. He's a third-grade Portland Public Schools teacher. He was also ordered to be deported by an immigration judge a few months ago. Well, he hasn't been deported yet. He's still here, and tonight he's part of this group right here. You're taking a live look. This is Educators for Black Lives Matter. They started marching, or they're getting ready to. This is at Revolution Hall. Right as our show started at 6 o'clock, they got started too. A group of our teachers organized that protest, and our Kristen Severance explains for us tonight why his appeal is currently on hold.
Let's just start with, Educators for Black Lives Matter. Why is it important for you to be there tonight and to show your support?
Well, tonight I'm marching with Educators for Black Lives Matter for my students, for change and for racial equality. I noticed my students engaging with the current state of affairs in a way that I've never seen them before. As educators and students, we are saying enough is enough. We know fundamentally Oregon and this nation was established over a racist foundation that has sprouted deep systemic inequities in the educational institutions that we work in. As educators, we're coming together with the Black community to continue to fight the school-to-prison pipeline, because our mission is to deliver rich, culturally responsive curriculum, engaging students in a message that honors the life of George Floyd, the George Floyd movement, along with Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, and the countless lives that have suffered at the hands of this fundamentally broken system.
Hector Sanchez teaches third grade at Bridger K-8 school in Portland. His parents brought him to the country illegally when he was 8 years old. He was able to live and work here under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA program. But a federal judge ordered Sanchez to be deported a few months ago. It all stemmed from a DUI charge in 2016. While the charge was dismissed after he completed a diversion program, the immigration proceedings kept going.
Hector, last time we talked, a judge had ordered you to be deported and you were in limbo. We were supposed to know something maybe by March. What is the status of that? And has COVID-19 delayed things?
Thank you for asking. Since we last spoke, things did get delayed. Things slowed down. My understanding is that my case has reached the Board of Appeals and they're reviewing the appeal. I have been working with my attorneys on this, and we're expecting the response to be delayed.
Hector has received a renewed Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA status, so he can still work as a teacher for PPS. As he waits for a decision on his appeal, he's fighting to stay in this country while fighting to change it.
I am committed personally to challenging and calling out all forms of racist expression, not only in the classroom, but within this educational system. And I stand in solidarity with my brothers and sisters who are demanding an education system that does not suffocate our students into the history books as historically underserved people.
Okay, Kristen Severin's joining us now. So, Kristen, do we know when he's going to get an answer about his case?
We don't. So his appeal was sent to the Board of Immigration Appeals. That's in Arlington, Virginia. It's really the last step, the last thing that someone can file to fight a deportation. But, as he said, everything's been delayed because of COVID.
Has everything been delayed? So have immigration hearings across the board, are they on hold right now?
It really depends. So it depends on where your case is. It depends on where you live. Some courts, continued on through this. Some closed, and some are opening up at the end of June. So it really depends, but we have seen delays. We have definitely seen a backlog that was already big,
right,
continue to grow.
Got it. Kristen Severin, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, earlier this week, Portland made history and, for the first time, named a city park after a black woman. Take a look. This is Verdell Burdine Rutherford Park at Southeast 167th and Market. Verdell Burdine's role in Oregon history is remarkable, to say the least. She moved here from Oklahoma in 1913 with her family. They were trying to take advantage of the enlarged Homestead Act. They wanted to get some farmland. One problem, a pretty big problem, Oregon law was super duper racist. They didn't even let black people own land at that time. But Verdell and her husband, Otto Rutherford, became leaders of the local NAACP chapter. They helped pass the Public Accommodations Act, which outlawed discrimination in hotels and in hospitals and restaurants and in movie theaters. Verdell's daughter still lives here. Her daughter, if you want to think about time, and this was not that long ago, she remembers how hard her parents fought to get that law passed.
They lobbied again and again for legislation to be passed, and the bill was given to junior House member Mark Hatfield. He took it seriously, which had not necessarily been the case with other people in the past, and they were able to get legislation passed. It took 33 years to happen, and it was a very big starting point, especially for this state.
Now, of course, right now, COVID-19 has the playground shut down, so you can't go there and enjoy it just yet. But you can still go and visit the park. You can hang out there. The park used to be called Lynchview Park, which was named after Patrick Lynch. He donated the land to the Centennial School District in the 19th century. Viewer Donnie Adair wanted to point something out to us. He emailed, McCoy Park here in North Portland was named in honor of Bill and Gladys McCoy. Mrs. McCoy was the first African-American Multnomah County executive, and she was a woman. So this latest naming of a park honoring a black woman would be the second park. That is an excellent point, Donnie. Thank you for that. Now, for those of you not familiar with Gladys McCoy, she was the first black woman elected to public office here in Oregon when she won her race to be on the Portland School Board in 1970. She would eventually become the chair of the Multnomah County Board of Commissioners as well. And today, the Multnomah County Health Department headquarters is named after her. Way to go. Well, you know your history, Donnie. Good stuff. I told you our viewers are smart. But Portland Parks and Rec has this answer for you guys to a distinction between the two. Gladys and Bill's historic contributions to the state of Oregon, Multnomah County, and the city of Portland are recognized and honored equally at McCoy Park. Verdell Burdine Rutherford Park is the first Portland park to be named in honor of an individual black woman. Hope that clears it up for you. Let's hop on to a different park now, and it's something I want to show you, and it's an article that I think is worth your time. It's been a really great week, I think, for Willamette Week. They have a lot of great weeks, but this one particularly. We've been recommending all sorts of their articles to you because it's really important, I think, to support and lift up local journalism right now more than ever. And this story is an incredible piece of local journalism by Rachel Monahan and photographer Brian Burke. The headline is, during the virus, Portland officials choose to let this homeless camp take root. That could soon change. Now, you'll see some pictures from the Peninsula Crossing Trail, which the article says is now a campground made up of dozens of tents. What happened? Screen went to black there for a second. You know, it's almost better that we can't show you the images right now because it's going to force you to go and actually go see it yourself. The pictures there show a garden. They even have somebody who set up a general store. Kind of an entire community, like a real community there. And it struck me, these pictures, that took away from the stereotype of a person who is homeless for me. I mean, these are people who are trying to have a true home despite not having a house. I mean, I'm looking at the people who they profiled in this piece and I'm thinking, if that person was my neighbor, I bet you they'd have the best kept yard on the entire block. Now, too often, and understandably, we equate homelessness with addiction and mental illness because those are very real factors, but the crisis is so much more complex than that. As we continue our conversations right now about the way this country works and the beautiful lives that call Oregon home, I think this piece of journalism is certainly worth your time. All right, get out your phones, draft me an email, let me know what you're thinking. We're going to read some comments after the break. The story at kgw.com or use Twitter and the hashtag HeyDan. But before you tweet, heed this advice, keeping Kaiser weird tonight. We're going to finish the story next. Keeping Kaiser weird tonight with a 21st century twist. The billboard outside the Kaiser Christian Church with a warning to anybody who wants to use that hashtag HeyDan. Tweet others as you would like to be tweeted. I like that. Thanks for John Morgan for sending this email in. If you see something keeping Portland weird or Kaiser anywhere, be like John. Be weird like us. Send it in. Hey, let's talk about some comments tonight. I'm getting a lot of the same. Jason Jones, what's up with Multnomah County being approved for Phase 1 tomorrow? Is it going to happen? Chef Glenn, so when will we know about Multnomah County opening up? R. Durham, is Multnomah County going to open up tomorrow? I could go on and on. We got a ton. We don't know, man. And girl, guy, anybody out there watching, we don't know. We've been asking. We asked the governor. She's supposed to tell us by tonight. All the more incentive, I guess, to watch the news at 6:30 and then watch Laura and myself back here at 11 o'clock tonight. We're going to keep on the governor. People want to know, are they going to be able to open up their gigs tomorrow? We'll let you know as soon as we know. That's the best I can do for now. That's the story. We'll see you back here tomorrow.